Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey yo, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. I'm on part 3 of my emotional resiliency and emotional intelligence series. And so far, we've been diving into kind of the connection between the physical and the emotional / energetic body. And like I said before, emotional, energetic, to me, it's all one and the same. And so we've talked about the power of feeling emotions, like what happens when we actually feel our emotions and like the emotion in the moment. We've talked about what are limiting thoughts and beliefs and how they affect your health and your well-being. And then I've also talked about like feeling physically, not just feeling like the actual emotion, but like physically feeling where they happen in the body. And so today I want to dive a little bit deeper into that part of feeling emotions and what it looks like to work through an emotion. I'm going to explain what that means. So really a big central part of releasing resistance, contraction in the body is learning how to process your emotions, right? We want to learn how to process. And that's what I want to talk about, that processing process. Not sure that's how you say that, but I want to talk about that process. And really, emotions are heavily influenced by society. And we have learned at a really early age what is acceptable to express publicly, sometimes even privately, like right, what emotions equate as weakness, what emotions equate as what were gender specific judgments around certain emotions, right? Our class, our culture, society, all of these shape the expectations that we have around how we should relate to our emotions. And there's a huge range of things that we've learned, right? We've learned that a sign of maturity in an adult is someone who can, quote, control their emotions, right? Avoid discomfort, avoid hurt, avoid anything unpleasant, right? We can just control them, then we are a mature adult. We have learned that emotions are threatening, that they're scary, they're unpredictable. They can hijack your rational mind and your rational thoughts, and they can lead to poor decisions, right? How many times have you heard about what would happen if a woman becomes president? Well, they're so, their emotions are going to rule how they make decisions, right? We've learned that emotions are kind of this kind of primal animalistic side of our nature, that they are unproductive, potentially harmful, that you should only feel good emotions, quote unquote, good emotions. You should avoid all negative emotions. We have been taught things like don't be emotional, don't be too sensitive. You shouldn't feel that way. You should just move on. Get yourself together, or I need to get myself together, right? Men don't cry. Don't be a baby. Big girls don't cry. Big boys don't cry. Suck it up. Be happy. Move on. Is it that time of the month, right? How many times have we heard these things about our emotions? We have learned that the mind equals logic, which equals trustworthy, which equals intelligence and strength and success, right? All logic, all mind, all very heady, right? Emotions mean equal irrational, equal we can't trust it, equal it's childish, equal it's weakness, and in the way of our success, right? Emotions get in the way of where we want to go. Emotions get in the way of where we're headed. Emotions get in the way of the goals that we want to accomplish. So, a big piece of unlearning around this part is to remove the resistance around actually fully feeling the emotion. So instead of feeling scared of emotions or feeling judgment around, we have certain judgments we have around certain emotions. You feel what comes up, feel what's coming up in your body. You're going to experience a huge breakthrough when you actually allow yourself to feel an emotion. Carl Jung says that what you resist persists. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this too. The more you resist it, the more it's going to persist. You have to face it head on. You have to face it head on. So I'm saying for you to learn how to be with your emotions without ignoring, repressing, projecting, numbing, overcoming, suppressing? Did I say that? Rationalizing, right? Trying to quote fix it. Because that's the other thing. Sometimes we're like, well, let me just feel it so I can fix it, right? No, just be with it. Or trying to change it. We're not feeling it to change it. We're feeling it to feel it, right? We're feeling it. So I invite you to learn how to meet your own emotions, how to meet yourself in that space instead of the alternative is taking them out on someone else. And until you own your emotions, until you own them and you can feel them at the depths of them, they will own you. And it's like I said in the first, or really the first two parts of the series, that you are holding that energy hostage when you are not allowing yourself to feel that emotion. You're suppressing, repressing, numbing, projecting, trying to fix it when you're not allowing to sit with it and be with it, right? You are holding that energy hostage. And to be with your emotions, going back to what I talked about in the second part of this about, taking away the stories, that's the other thing here is to be able to feel that energy, that raw energy of the emotion without the story attached, right? Without whatever meaning you've made around the emotion that you're feeling, whatever judgment you've placed on the emotion. There's judgment does nothing but tangle up more emotions on top of the emotion. So now it's like I talked about the garbage on top of garbage thing. Like now you've just tangled it up in a bunch of other garbage, right? So there's no need to judge or feel dumb, silly, weak, stupid, whatever, whatever judgment we place on the emotions that we're feeling. It judging the circumstance or the person who you identify as the source of emotion, like none of that is doing anything but keeping you in that resistance. It's still part of the holding the energy hostage. The other piece that I want to bring up here is it's important for you to separate your emotions from your identity. And I think this is where a lot of us get caught. And this to me is one of it's like at the crux of emotional intelligence because there's a difference in you saying a part of me feels sad or I feel sad versus I'm sad. Um, a part of me feels angry versus I'm angry, right? We hold we are able as human beings to hold a multitude of different parts of ourselves at the same time. And so you can feel multiple things at once and it not identify you. A part of you can feel scared and brave at the same time. A part of you can feel excited and scared at the same time. And I think this goes back to the idea I talked about when we were talking about the stories and when we get stuck in the emotion and we kind of turn into that black and white thinking. I think this is another part of that because the fact is, you do contain multitudes of emotions at once. We are never just one thing. And the more you can feel how expanded you are and how expansive you are, the more you can hold on to all of these, what can seem like contradictory parts and we can start to accept all of those parts. We can accept the parts that are scared, the parts that are brave, the parts that want to hide, the parts that feel weak, the parts that feel angry. We can accept all of these parts and know that we are the sum of all of our parts. We're not just one thing. And I think when we identify, when we place that emotion as part of our identity, we really hold ourselves back, right? We hold ourselves in that place of contraction and resistance, holding ourselves back from that expansive energy, that flow of energy. That's the goal, is to be able to feel these emotions, to release the contraction, release the resistance, to feel that flow of energy, and know that when we are identifying, we have this emotion. It's based on our identity, or we are identifying with it as a part of us, like I am this thing, instead of a part of me feels this thing, right? Then we are really holding ourselves back from finding that flow of energy that we're looking for. And so I challenge you to connect with all of the parts of you and notice all of the parts of you. So when you're feeling this quote unquote bad emotion, and I really hate to use that because, like I said before, there's no good or bad emotions. Emotions are literally just energy and motion. But when you feel an emotion that's bringing up a sense of resistance or contraction, can you feel the opposite of that at the same time? Can you feel grief and feel peace at the same time? Right? Can you feel anger but feel compassion at the same time? Can right how can we feel these things at once and notice that it's not our entire being that's tied up in this specific emotion? And I think, as I mentioned before, I think we can really fully accept all of these parts, that we integrate all of these parts within ourselves, and we can stop showing ourselves this sort of conditional acceptance. Because I think that's the other thing that happens is the minute we identify with this emotion, now we're judging ourselves for it. I am sad. Well, no, I'm annoyed that I'm sad. I don't want to be sad. Nobody wants to be sad. So now I'm annoyed, and there's judgment attached to this. I think that's what creates the conditional acceptance, because then the thought turns to, well, I have to turn this into blank, this different emotion, or else I'm going to judge myself as blank. Well, I can't be sad because that means I'm weak, right? I can't be angry because then that means I'm, whatever stereotype. So now we've attached judgment to it. So do you see what the picture I'm painting here is? When we identify with the emotion, we're causing even more contraction resistance in the body by attaching our identity to that emotion. And now we kind of get stuck. We kind of get stuck in that feedback loop that I was talking about, the limiting thoughts and emotions I talked about in the last episode, because now there's sort of this conditional acceptance with ourselves, our identities. We've attached the emotion to our identity rather than acknowledging that a part of me feels sad, a part of me feels angry, a part of me feels scared, a part of me feels shame, whatever the emotion is, but feeling that there is another side of that emotion. There is another side of that emotion. I can feel multiple things at once. And when you can give yourself this freedom, accept your feelings as they are, accept the feelings, accept this feeling of contraction, then they can dissolve. And it's not about feeling it just to feel it and get it over with. It's not about feeling it so I can turn into something else. It's about feeling it, right? Like I said a second ago, without suppressing it, repressing it, projecting it on somebody else or taking it out on somebody else, feeling the depths of it. This is the path to like emotional freedom and energetic freedom, because then we have let go of this energy that's causing contraction resistance in the body, and we are allowed for this free flow of energy, and we're accepting all parts of us without judgment and without attaching all of these stories to all these different emotions that we're feeling. And I think that's another big thing, is tying it to the episode, that the last episode I talked about limiting thoughts and beliefs and the stories we attach to those. I think that's the big thing about separating your emotions from your identity, is being able to let go of the stories. Because the second we attach ourselves, our identity to the emotion, now we're attaching stories to it, right? Because now immediately that's where the judgment comes from. Okay, so let's talk about some concerns that could come up about feeling into the fire, right? If we're feeling into the emotion, and I'm telling you, like, feel the depths of the emotion, which can be a scary thing, right? Nobody wants to go into the depths of grief or shame or guilt or any of those that we've talked about. So, some common concerns that might come up about this. So, first, what if, so you might be asking yourself, what if I get stuck in an emotion, I can't get out of it? Here's the thing, repeating what I've said before. Emotions are literally just simply energy in motion. They are energy patterns in the body. Suffering comes from not feeling what's there to be felt. Suffering is the avoidance of whatever it is that needs to be felt, and creates this resistance in the body. It creates contraction in the body. Suppressing an emotion is what gets you stuck. So feeling it is what allows you to move through it. Remember what I said a second ago. Carl Jung said, what you resist persists. So it's the avoidance of that is actually causing the contraction. So if you don't feel your emotions, these energy patterns get stuck in the body, causing that stagnation in the body. It's causing resistance. And this is what creates dis-ease in the body, which becomes disease. It becomes dis-ease. It's unease in the body, dis-ease in the body. And it's from you resisting this, it's halting these energy patterns in the body. When we are present to feeling whatever comes up, whatever arises, moment to moment, this is when we can get into this expansive energetic flow, this space of expansion of constant energetic flow. We let all the energy patterns flow through us, right? They flow through us. We allow them to flow through us rather than, right? We halt the process. And once you allow yourself to feely full what's there, this is when it can shift. And it's this transmutation process that can bring the emotions we want to feel. We want to feel peace and calm and bliss and joy, and all of those are the things we want to feel. So when we allow ourselves to feel what's there, we can clear out the energy and allow ourselves to get to those places. It's the positive feedback loop that we're looking for. We talked about the negative feedback loop when we get stuck in the stories. It's this positive feedback loop that really, when you allow yourself, when you get it, when you teach yourself these skills, we teach your nervous system, we teach your mind, we teach your body these things, it can be instantaneous. It can happen within minutes. Because remember what I said, the actual biochemical process, physiological process of emotions is only 90 seconds. So we allow ourselves to be with it instead of resisting it or putting it off. This is what happens. We've been taught to be afraid of our emotions, especially the ones we label as quote unquote negative, and we'd rather avoid them, ignore them, change them, suppress them, numb, uh, manage them, right? Just basically do anything else except feel it. And all of these are the ways that we're cutting ourselves off from this consistent expansion and energetic flow in the body. It's this, we remain trapped in this resistance, trapped in the contraction because we haven't allowed them to move. Emotions, energy in motion, they are meant to be in motion. When we don't feel them, they remain trapped, and that we are allowing them to move. Right. I can't say that enough. I know I've repeated that probably 28 times in the past three episodes, but I can't say that enough because I feel like that in and of itself, of just having that image in your head of emotions moving through the body, that's what they're meant to do. Emotions are energy in motion. They're meant to move. So we can't stop them. We have to feel them and let them move. Okay. So that's one thing I wanted to mention here. So another concern or question that I've heard and seen and I see happen on the internet, people asking, okay, well, why can't I just choose to be happy instead? Why can't I just choose to be happy instead of feeling this quote unquote negative emotion? And I've mentioned this before, but I want to reiterate this because here's the thing: choosing happiness by not allowing yourself to feel what's fully there, what's really there, it's not happiness. That is suffering. And I just said a second ago that suffering is the avoidance of what is. That creates contraction. And so if you're just, quote, choosing happiness, you can't mindset your way out of this. You can't just choose to be happy. If we could just choose to be happy, there would be no depression on the face of the planet. There'd be no suffering. There's nothing. You can't just choose to be happy. You can't selectively choose your emotions and numb your emotions because they're all just energy patterns. So if you choose not to feel an unpleasant emotion, you're also going to numb yourself to the pleasant emotions. And that's what happens so many times when I feel people who are so disconnected from their bodies is they're people are so used to, and this isn't judgment on anybody. This is like the human condition. We're so used to living in our heads with very little connection to our body and the sensations in our body. We've just kind of turned it off. And so we kind of feel this lackluster existence. Our life force kind of gets dulled, and it's that point where you hear people say, I just don't know what's missing. Like they seemingly have everything but they feel like something's missing, and it's because they don't realize, humans, people, we don't realize that by disconnecting from any emotion, you're blocking all emotions. The goal of creating this expansion that I'm talking about and cultivating this kind of ideal energetic flow in the body, it's not about creating this perfect space to live in that you have mastery of, like mastering my emotions. It's not about that. The goal is to be able to be with whatever comes up, be with whatever arises, and still find your way to expansion so that you can still allow yourself to move. And that's when you find freedom. This stuck energy patterns turn into moods and then states. And if they're not felt and acknowledged, and this is where Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this, that these energy patterns, they turn into your personality, right? It's an emotion, it turns into a mood, it turns into a state, it turns into your personality. And before you know it, that's your reality. We're living in this state of this emotion that got stuck, trapped in the body because it hasn't been felt and acknowledged and moved through the body. This can create more resistance to experience emotions because you feel like the kind of this diluted version of the emotions already been kind of hanging around like a cloud for a while, and you've been able to just manage it. And I think that's the state that so many of us live in, where it's like, well, I've managed part of it. Like, no, I've experienced it, but you haven't. It's the watered down version. You haven't really gone to the depths of it. and sat with it and allow it to move. And so it's, again, just kind of this fog, this haze that hangs over literally everything you're doing, every decision you're making, every interaction you have with the people around you, everything that you're doing it in your business or your job, your career with your family. It hangs there because you just, that's how you're, quote, managing it. But once you allow yourself to fully feel the emotion, it starts to kind of dissipate and you gain access to this energy force, this life force, this vibrant energy that's coursing through your body, that's just waiting. It's like this volcano waiting to just erupt. You have this energy that wants to flow through your body. You have creative life force energy. We all have access to this. When you connect to your creativity and your sense of aliveness, when we allow ourselves to feel, and just choosing any emotion over the one that's right there in front of you is what keeps you in this resistance and this contraction. And you might think you're choosing expansion and you're choosing to let the energy flow by, quote, choosing happiness. Like that's it. That's just the choice I'm making, is to be happy. But anytime, I'll say it again, anytime you're not feeling what's right in front of you, you create contraction. And there's some teachers out there that describe any sort of avoidance of a feeling that's there as an addiction. And so whatever you do or use or turn to in order to avoid feeling something, you're like numbing it out. That's the addiction. So if it's social media, if it's TV, if it's sex or dating or busyness, work, shopping, food, alcohol, drugs, like we could name them all. If that's distracting yourself from feeling what's there, that's where addictions can happen. And you're creating an addiction and keeping yourself in this loop of resistance and contraction. So it's not about the thing itself, but it's about why you're doing the thing that determines if it's an addiction, right? Because in and of itself, sex isn't bad, food isn't bad, TV isn't bad, right? Alcohol isn't bad in and of itself, but it's why we're doing it. If we're doing it to numb or dissociate, that's what happens. And so it all goes back to us being able to sit with it, be with it, fully feel the extent of it, allow that to move through the body. That's what moves through the body. So I'm going to end the episode right there and give you these things to contemplate. Since I've been leaving you with kind of some exercises to do at the end of each of these episodes, I want you to practice this whole like stopping and feeling thing. And maybe you just start right now in the moment and just, if you sit and close your eyes for a second and wait till you feel something, like what's the first emotion that comes up, and see if you can really feel into it. So it may be a pleasant one, it may be an unpleasant one. Maybe you're worried about something you have to do after you finish listening to this episode. Maybe you're feeling calm and peaceful right now and you're feeling enlightened because you're learning something new, right? Whatever the emotion is, can you feel it? And then just turn it up to 1,000%. Really feel the emotion. Feel the sensation in your body. And it kind of goes back to the exercise I gave you at the end of the last episode of feeling, literally feeling the thing in the body, that what sensation, physical sensation comes up in the body. That's that raw energy in your body. That's that raw emotion in the body. It's the sensation that comes up in the body. So and when you allow yourself to feel that, it might come out. You can let your body express it how it wants to express it. So maybe it's a deep, full breath. Maybe it's a scream or a sound, or maybe it's tears. Maybe you need to let the tears come. Maybe it's screaming into a pillow, right? So when you allow yourself to feel it, allow your body to take you where it needs to go to allow yourself to fully express that emotion. And this isn't just for difficult to feel emotions, it's also for the good ones, joy and gratitude and excitement and fulfillment and all those really fun emotions that we like to feel. So allow yourself to laugh or dance or jump up and down or do something silly. Like, how does your physical body want to express that emotion when you allow yourself to turn it up to 1,000%? And just practice this, like feeling the emotion. And then I think the other thing I want to leave you with is asking yourself some questions. So just asking yourself, what is your current relationship with your feelings, with your emotions? Do you try to ignore them, push them down? Do you try to intellectualize them? Like it's just like you try to analyze and figure out why they're there and where they came from. And I can say that am I'm really guilty of that one, because I like to just bring it up to my head and like analyze, why is this happening? What is right? Instead of just feeling it, who cares why it's there? It doesn't matter. And it honestly doesn't matter why it's there. So I think that's another big takeaway here. You don't have to figure out where it came from or why it's there. Just allow yourself to feel it and allow your body to feel it. Do you take them out on other people? Do you project it on other people or something else? Do you let yourself feel the impact of events on your body, your physical body? Or do you tell yourself that you're fine? It's not a big deal. I'll deal with it later, right? Just ask yourself, what is your relationship with your emotions? And then, and I'll say, and asking yourself, what do I turn to instead of feeling them? So if you find yourself, uh, if you're thinking about this and your mind is telling you, like, okay, yeah, I probably do suppress them or push them down or push them aside. Okay, what are you doing instead? Do you turn to work, food, social media, entertainment, gossiping? Like, what do you turn to instead? Are you turning to anything to numb yourself to feeling those, or to stimulate yourself to, right? It's like overstimulation, and it's like a dopamine hit to your body because I can feel that instead of having to feel the emotion that's there. Asking yourself these questions, and these are hard truths sometimes, y'all. I'm gonna say that this isn't, I don't take these lightly. I don't take this process lightly and ask these questions lightly, because a lot can come up there. And I ask you to add to, when you're asking yourself these questions, ask yourself without judgment, because when we start to bring up these hard questions and these hard truths come to the surface, it can be a lot for us to see, right? It can be a lot for us to, like, the truth of it's right there in front of us, and judgment can come up immediately. And then here we go with, these emotions that come up. And so it's kind of it's a delicate process, because you're allowing yourself to feel the emotions. I'm allowing myself to, kind of think about what my relationship is with my emotions. And then more emotions are going to come up. And so it's kind of this weird kind of dance we have to do with managing. I don't want to say manage your emotions, but just kind of manage your energy through this process. And so it doesn't become this just kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck. I'm a terrible person because all these things are coming up. And now I realize that now I'm numbing out on social media or food. And then, right, it's just kind of this downward spiral. So can we look at this kind of objectively? Can you take an objective lens and look at these things objectively and just see, without judgment, without not attaching to anything, just the facts? Just, can we just say the facts? Here we go again. Go back to the last episode in this when I talked about the stories. Can we look at this stuff without attaching a story to it? Like I said, it doesn't matter why it's there. It really doesn't. It really doesn't matter why it's there. It doesn't matter how it got there or why it's there. The fact is that it's there and it needs to be managed. It's like a kid who needs your attention. They're just going to keep annoying you until you give them the attention that they need, right? Or if think of it like a baby who needs food. The baby's going to keep crying and screaming until you give it what it needs. It needs some nourishment. So think of it like that. That emotion that's there, it's the same thing. So it doesn't matter why it's there. It doesn't matter how it got there. It doesn't matter, quote unquote, whose fault it was or whatever. But if it's there, it needs to be felt. It needs to be your attention. It needs your attention to allow it to move through, continue that process of emotions, the energy in motion, and allow it to move through the body. So go through the questions that I just posed for you there, and do it without judgment. There's no judgment. There's no guilt, shame attached to any of this. We are looking at this objectively, so we can really take, and the goal of this is just to have kind of a baseline of what is my relationship with my emotions. And it can kind of give you a good indication too of your relationship with your body, kind of this somatic process of feeling the emotions, because then it can kind of direct you on where you need to put your attention in this process. Because if you're feeling like, no, like I do feel a physical sensation in my body when I'm feeling this particular emotion that's coming up, okay, that's a good sign. Now we know that there is a connection with the body, we can feel in the body. But if you don't, again, there's no judgment, it's okay. And I would say you're probably among the majority of people in the world, at least in the Western world, in America, who you're so disconnected from their body that they don't feel a physical sensation with an emotion. And that's okay. We can get there. But if you can start to recognize the emotions and kind of be with them, it will start to happen. You will start to feel things happening in your body. It's just the awareness piece. The awareness piece is huge. And that's really what all of this is about. I know I'm going kind of, semi deep in these episodes, but it's really just bringing the awareness to it to start the process. We can have the awareness, the awareness of either A, I have, an okay relationship with my emotions, or I'm completely disconnected from my emotions. Again, it doesn't matter. There's no judgment. It's just the facts. We're just stating the facts. There's no stories. Then we kind of know which steps to take next, right? So sit with this, let this marinate, and continue to ask yourself these questions. And this could be a process. This might be, a multi-day. I mean, honestly, this is like a lifelong process. But if you're going through the episodes, this might be a multi-day thing that you want to journal on, meditate on, pray on, all of those things to kind of see what comes up. And then in the last episode tomorrow, or whenever it's coming out, the next episode, we're going to talk about your nervous system and how all of this that we're talking about, feeling the emotions physically in the body, feeling all these sensations, requires a safe nervous system. And I think this is a crucial piece to put into the puzzle and kind of end with, so that we can work on that part, because I think that's the other part that really, really, it plays the biggest role, is our nervous system, because our nervous system has to feel safe enough to feel it. So we're not just thinking about their emotions, but we're feeling them. And so that we can move through, we can allow these emotions to move through. So I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Sit with all of this, and I'll talk to y'all in the next episode. Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast, and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes, so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's @TheHopePedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.